What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Trinity Road Tape. Today we might have a little bit longer video for you. You know by now that NC State has zeroed in on Will Wade as its preferred candidate, we'll say, for the men's basketball head coaching position. And while nothing is official yet, State has definitely created a lot of excitement in the fan base around this potential hire. And what I wanted to do today is just take a look at some Will Wade offense. And, he's been at Chattanooga, he's been at LSU, he's been at VCU, and most recently McNeese, where he's made the NCAA tournament twice. And I do think the offense has looked a little bit different at each of those stops. I've watched his LSU tenure a little bit, and I've watched a decent amount of his McNeese tenure, and there are some differences. But I particularly liked the McNeese tenure and some of the offensive sets that you saw here. It's a very deep bag. So what I like about that is you can get into a lot of different stuff depending on what kind of scouting report you have, what kind of strengths and weaknesses the other team is showing you, and you saw that from this McNeese team, right? There was times where they would spam 4-out, 1-in ball screens off against teams that were switch heavy, but they would have a much deeper well of actions against teams like Alabama where they didn't have a lot of matchup advantages to play through. It speaks to a coach that is adaptable, and I like that. And so I don't have anything pre-planned for this video. I'm just going to roll through some of this and take a look at some of the stuff that we see. I really have no idea what this game is about to look like, but we'll see what kind of stuff we get from Will Wade here, and see if we can analyze some of it and pick out the parts that we like here. So let's get started here. This is early on in the game. This is actually just where the video started. When you get this little curl here, kind of initiate into just a ball screen look. And I think one thing that's interesting with Wade that has stood out to me when I've watched him before is, particularly when we talk about Kevin Keatts, right, and a difference, right? So you do get a lot of ball screen actions. You're going to get that with every team in the country, right? It's the most difficult play to guard in basketball. But with McNeese, a lot of the stuff was 4-out, 1-in, not true spread, which is just a different way to do it. But you can see that guy down there on the block when they run this, and they're going to rerun this in a second, I think, and it's going to be the same thing. So it comes off of this. All right, you get a reset here. So that one actually does end up being a true spread. So I was wrong. It never is. It certainly is sometimes. But drop coverage from Alabama. I like this a lot, right? Get downhill, right? So this is really nice, right? So this is a big problem that we saw with State this season, coming off of ball screens against drop coverage, right? I mean, so drop coverage, if you don't know, like that's this big here positioned. This is relatively high drop coverage. Sometimes you'll see it all the way down here. When you have more athletic bigs, you won't usually see that. One team that played this deep of a drop coverage against State was Coastal Carolina early in the year because they had tall guys that moved like elephants. So they positioned them really close to the basket, down really deep drop. But so Alabama's playing kind of a soft drop here, and this is a guard that attacks it, and I like that, right? I mean, you're coming off the screen here, looking to get to the rim, and is able to finish over the taller player. Like, you got to be able to put rim pressure, create rim pressure off of the screen, and that's really good to see. I mean, that's good stuff there. It's what you want out of your guards. Take a look at this next possession here, see where this one goes. Looking like they're going to play into another ball screen set. Yeah, a little flare screen down there at the bottom. Into a spread look. So they do play the spread look some. So you see the flare screen down there. It's 5 coming out here. Alabama handles it fine. And then you're going to get kind of an angle ball screen here, right? So screening away from the middle. Looks like Alabama's trying to ice this screen, so that's kind of a reflection of that. Corner shooters, and then you're going to get a secondary action, if I remember. I did check out a little bit of this before. So you're going to get a secondary action. He comes off the screen, you got the drop coverage again. But what you're going to get here is 24 is actually going to set a flare screen for 6 coming back to the ball. So they're playing really, he can attack here. He can attack this big if he wants to, but they're really playing to try and get a 3 here, right? So they've got one here in the gaps on the initial action, and they're trying to catch him right there. So you saw that screen right there. They're trying to catch it. Now the play ends up falling to pieces, it looks like, but that's something interesting, right? So basic spread ball screen look, but with a lot of secondary flare screening, a lot of actions, off-ball screening actions built around the primary on-ball action, which is a distinct element of what we're watching here from what we watched with Kevin Keats, right? When Kevin Keats had movement in his spread ball screen actions, it was shake action or roll replace action, right? Most of the time, which are very similar. You would get improvised cuts sometimes from players that were good at that. Jaden Taylor, Torin Dorn, guys that come to mind. But this is different, right? So you get the ball screen, and then you're going to get the flare screen there, and they want to kind of get the ball back to him. Obviously, stuff goes sideways on him there. Let's see what happens here. So early on in this possession, they come to set another angle ball screen there. And so you can see it's a high ball screen look, but 4 out, 1 in. Then you get an elevation off of the action, a rescreen, and it's just pick and roll. A good pocket pass there through the drop coverage. Really, really nice pocket pass, actually. And you see, like, it's a cut here, too. Like, McNeese likes to put people under the basket when they run these actions, as opposed to spacing the floor entirely, right? So that's a big difference here. Assuming that if State does get Will Wade, right? This is something that I've noticed that's different. It's more cuts on this type of stuff. It's less pure spacing, right? There was Keats was very far on one end of the philosophical spectrum of space the floor and attack the rim, right? So you're going to get something a little different here, a little bit of a staggered down screen there at the top. So they're looking to get a 3 out of the blob baseline out of bounds. Going to get this guy coming off these 2 screens. They want to get him the basketball. Alabama is able to switch it. And we'll see what they get into here. So, interesting. Okay, so kind of like a mirrored curl there. It looked like that was setting up to be what's called a floppy action, but yeah, so a floppy action would be a screener here, a screener here, and then a screener here, and then this guy who's kind of hidden right here can choose which screen set he wants to run off of. Now, they set up like that, and then they end up running a cross screen for this big here who's going to come off of this curl. So kind of like a variation on the floppy action. So I end up getting double pin downs here. Probably a name for this. I don't know off the top of my head, but you end up getting 2 curls, and you can initiate with either one of these. And then you get a ghost pick and pop look there. Ghost pick and pop can be really deadly against teams that play drop coverage, and he is wide open. That ball probably should have gotten back over there. But interesting, like, you get the ghost pick and pop there, right? So sets the screen, but ghosts it to the top of the key. But then 24 is actually going to come set a pin down screen on the big. All right, so they're screening for threes a lot. In this particular game, they're screening for threes a lot. This ends up being a pull-up jump shot, misses it. We'll speed through the defensive series here. And we'll get into another possession here. All right, so you get it coming off a curl here. You get a chase, doesn't go under. This is all of these are usually options, right? So he's going to come around off of this curl here, and if for some reason the defender tries to jump something like this, he can fade this back to the corner for a 3. Alabama chases over the top of it. Ball comes to him. You get a little cross screen there. So this is called a screen the screener action. This is something that I've seen Wade use effectively in other places as well. So off the curl, you get 23 here into this little cross screen. This guy's going to come down here, and then he is going to elevate here and get a screen from 5, right? So when you set a screen and then you go get a screen, that's called screen the screener. This is going to run into a pin down trying to get a 3. And I believe, right, so you think about how this might work. So 3 here might come over here to protect when this guy comes off of the screen trying to get into a post up on the high block. Now suddenly he's out of position to chase whatever number that is off of this pin down screen right here. So good stuff there. Good action, right? So it comes off of that. They did it. Alabama's pretty good. Comes off of that. And then ram pick and roll. So another screen to screener action. So no shot there. You're going to get the next part of this series. So we're very deep in this series right now for this offensive possession. So this is ram pick and roll. He's going to come up and set a screen, get a screen from this guy to do so. Another example of screen to screener. I'm actually going to run this pick and pop, I think. Yep. And so you're going to get a lot of that against drop coverage. So it's a good response to drop coverage, right? Because drop coverage is the biggest deep, so you can get to that pick and pop action pretty quick. Good stuff. Alabama recovers well, and then they go right into this zoom action, right? So this is a possession that went 4 plays deep into a series. So you can see the screen there from 5 into the dribble handoffs called a zoom action. He's going to come downhill. And he scores. Actually got the drop out of position there with number 3 a little bit. Was able to get his body into him, create some space, not commit a foul. 4 actions deep into the series there. So that's really cool. That's a really nice possession. You get 2 points out of it. You get a guy coming downhill. That's awesome stuff. So really nice possession there. High ball screen, 4 out, 1 in. Seen a fair amount of that. Into, we'll call that a shake action. So that's a shake action. You see 23 at the top there, coming off to the back to the point, lifting out of the corner. Get a mid-range jump shot out of it. So already you can see they use the 4 out 1 in ball screen a decent amount, but it's not just that, right? There's a lot of other elements going on, and then they have a wider variety of actions that they play into. Here's looks like another ram pick and roll there. 24 comes up to set the ball screen, ghosts it against drop coverage, pretty common thing. We had some kind of foul there on someone. Looks like a push off maybe, kind of a crap ticky-tack call. This is one thing you'll see. This is interesting. So this showed up. I watched the Gonzaga game they played, and this showed up, right? They set a good deal of drag screens, right? They look to attack in transition, but it's not just aggression, right? It's screening in transition, right? So this is a little drag screen there from 5, right? So drag screen would be just a ball screen, but usually in transition, right? So he's trying to screen this guy before everything's really set. And it just adds a level of complexity and awareness for the defense. You end up just getting an attack, and he scores. You end up just getting an attack to the empty side here. That number 3 right there, way out of position to pick that up, and a good rejection, right? So you want your guards to be capable of rejecting a ball screen if they get into an advantageous angle like that and can create an angle like that. So that's really good.